Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Lethal Sales. Tonight's topic, which sounds like a lot of fun, is who was your mentor and who have you mentored, or as Peter would say, mentee. Um, so I'm going to turn this over to Larry, and we can talk about our mentors and the people for whom we have mentored. There's got
Rhonda,
to
are
be
you
good
done?
English here somewhere.
Are you done conjugating the verbs and the
Yeah,
nouns?
really.
If so, I'll be glad. Um,
I think that calls for Manhattan or something.
Yeah, right.
there we go. It's obviously this time of year, besides everybody hopefully being festive. We've got Don Graff recovering from shoulder problems, and my great buddy Russell Hill coming over some minor surgery. But it's a good time to enjoy life and respect the holidays. But it's also a good time to reflect. And we thought that talking about who mentored us, and as Rhonda attempted to say, who we mentored, is a heck of a topic. And I'm going to defer to my buddy Peter, because he actually has a gentleman he's mentoring on the show. So, Mr. Smith, take it and run with it, please.
Thanks, Larry. Just want to say thanks for joining us again. Considering that we had to switch it a day earlier for my purposes. So
don't Peter, you don't have to say that. Russell's under meds. He thinks it is Wednesday.
Oh, it is. Is it not Wednesday?
No, it's a day earlier. But I just wanted to say thank you for accommodating me, because I have a very important date tomorrow. It's my mother-in-law's 85th birthday, and we're taking her out for a nice meal. So cool. Thank you. So moving forward in this business, to really excel in what you can do and really in life in general, is to have a mentor. And we've all hopefully had a mentor in our lives that has sat us down and given us some direction and really given us a little bit to think about, other than the typical training or coaching or anything like that. Just to sit us down and say, hey, this is how we hold you accountable in life, and we want you to be better. And it's not about any gratitude other than in helping someone through life. And about 3 years ago, I was lucky enough to be running a Toyota dealership.
Oh no, cats can go outside.
With that, I was rebuilding it from COVID, and I hired a couple young gentlemen. One of them's here on the show tonight. He's an exceptional young man that didn't ask for anything in life but to get better. And I'm proud to say that I've led him down a path to something that he really enjoys, which is the car business. And I'm going to yield it to him. His name is Luay, and he's calling in from his dealership right now. So go ahead, Luay. I appreciate your time.
Good evening, good day, everyone. Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me, Peter, on this podcast. I'm honored. I want to talk a little bit about your mentorship to me. As you mentioned, 3 years ago, almost 3 years, probably more, we've met each other, and ever since then, you have been my guide and my mentor. Your leadership has been transformative to me, and in terms of professional life and in terms of personal life. To me, you've been more than a guide. You've been a compass, and especially because our automotive industry is dynamic, it's continuously changing. Having somebody like you can definitely be an asset to somebody who's starting fresh in the automotive industry. Now, from you, I've learned many lessons. I would like to start with the one that you've mentioned already, which is accountability. In our industry, our precision and reliability are paramount. So understanding the importance of responsibility It's been a game changer, and you've instilled a sense of responsibility in me for every decision that I make, and for every task that I complete. And in the realm of mentorship, it's through you. It's not only about the technicals. It's been a positive impact, on my character, developing my character and my perspective. You've been you've been a source of continuous inspiration to me, and you've always motivated me to push further than what I think I'm capable of, and always like setting new records and achieving new goals. So yeah, that's what I have to say about that.
Thank you.
Well,
Wow.
thank you, Luay. That's
Aren't you glad we're recording this, Peter?
yeah. It's a true honor to hear the actual response of someone coming back from the other side. In realistic, we're really honored to have people that we choose, and it's I chose you because you had that vision that you wanted to get better, and you didn't ask for it, but you deserved it. So I'm really honored to go there. Where I'm going to talk about my mentors. My mentors are all on this panel, every single one of them. So I look every day for guidance from them. I read everything that they write. I listen to their podcasts. I absorb everything that is said, and it guides me down a path of accountability. And I'm honored to call all these people on this panel friends, colleagues, and mentors. So I thank everyone on it. So with that, I'm going to yield it to my good friend Larry and partner, and he can take it and bring it back on the funny side, I hope.
Well, funny's good, but sincerity's even better, and you can see why we're so excited to have this show. I want to hear everybody's mentor and who they're mentoring. Would anybody like to jump in next? Because I'm so excited to hear every one of you. Anybody? April, Kaylee, Paul Brobson, anybody? Anybody want to tell us about who mentored them and who they're mentoring?
Hey, Larry, I'll start if you want.
Great.
Yes, sir, please.
Okay. So it's a bit of a sad story that turns, well, it's a happy story that turns a little sad, but then finishes, well, it's not finished yet. So I'll leave it there. I started the company in really around 2016, although all the paperwork will say, because they made us change it to a Delaware corporation, 2018, but it really went back as far as 2016. And at the time, and if you knew what we did back then, well, I certainly wouldn't be in this room talking to all of you. It was completely different. It wasn't even in this automotive industry, much less a technology platform that it is today. So it's really wonderful and exciting. And there was a gentleman who, when I first started, I didn't know anything about the fintech space, and that's what I was innovating in. Of course, might as well go in another thing I didn't know anything about and innovate there. But this gentleman became a mentor to me, and his daughter worked for me as an intern, and then ultimately, in another role at a company that I worked at. And I learned about her dad and what he did in the industry he was in. So I really glommed onto him. I almost like forced myself onto him because he was so welcoming and so, energetic and so enthusiastic. For me, a guy who was almost his age, he had done several successful entrepreneurial things and exited. And here I was, just like I said, stumbling, rumbling, fumbling, in my late 50s. And he's, I don't know if he's helping me because he thought he was helping an elderly, or he was more just, that he was actually, I came to learn, very entrepreneurial, knows no age. And, and so it's the thrill of the chase, not what you arrive at the end. And a lot of things I learned from him. And so he helped a lot, and he guided us. And really at those moments when, you're completely alone, there's people like that behind you that can help you understand maybe not what direction to take, but at least take those 50 forks in the road and say, nah, you really got 2 or 3, and focus on what is really important. It'll help you. And so, so now the sad part, unfortunately, Ed Braswell, who was that mentor, also an investor in my company, he passed away in April of this year. Well, not unexpectedly. He had been sick, but he had held it to himself for really close to the vest. He's only a couple years, my senior. So, and, his daughter could be my daughter. And I just think about, the fact that he had young grandchildren and all of that, and what he still had to give the world. And that's kind of sad, but I know now that it's kind of in a lot of ways inspirational and guiding for someone like me now, who, and Russell knows, we've had these discussions about the growth of our company and what we're about to do. And so he's kind of riding shotgun from up north, guiding me in my thinking. And I'm so glad and happy that he was able to kind of see us get to the point where we became something. We've not arrived yet, but he was able before he passed to see that. And that's my being mentored. And now my mentoring side, life has a funny way of just throwing things in your way, and the Lord works in very mysterious ways and wonderful ways, as I've learned. And so my niece just graduated summa cum laude with a marketing degree from Auburn University. And she's looking for a job. And she said, well, Uncle Paul knows something about marketing, like he did it for 40 years. So I scooped her up, and now I'm happy to say that I'm mentoring her. I'm sure she's going to mentor me along the way as well. But it's wonderful to see the eyes through, a young person who, is just getting out there again and experiencing life for the first time, albeit in this crazy business we chose, or that chose us. But I'm thrilled to actually help her, and I'm like I said, I'm already getting dividends, even though it's been a week. She's been under my tutelage. So that's my mentee story, and thank you for allowing me to share it, you guys.
Hey, Paul, if you want to know my philosophy, skewed as it might be, to me,
Sure.
You live as long as your friends and the people that care about you are around. It's just that simple. I mean, I lost my father in 76, yet anybody that's been around me for 3 seconds has heard me quote my dad or talk about my dad. So
Absolutely.
Trust me, Mr. Braswell is going to be served well by you and his daughter and all the people that he touched and he continues to touch. And I think it's just going to push you to go even further because you feel like you're carrying the mantle for both, correct?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, no doubt. And it's, and still Alice and his wife continue to communicate with, as one of the family and one of our, our deal. And we celebrate, all of our good moments with that family because they are our family.
Cool. I saw April Simmons pop in. April is as brassy as you can come. She speaks up, and yet I'd like to think I'm almost as good at this as you are, April. As brassy as we both are, people tend to like us. Who mentored you? Who shaped you to be the crazy, smart, nice, cool person you are? And I know you've paid it back to a million people, but if you can, who mentored you and who are you mentoring, please?
It's interesting when we have these conversations, because for me, the only thing I always think when we talk about mentoring or being mentored is how it takes a village. And it's something that, as I've just listened to a couple of you speak already, when I was little, growing up as a very, very young person, my brother is 2 years younger than me. And he was very sick when he was born. And so I wasn't necessarily raised by my parents. I was raised by my neighbors and my godparents and my aunts. And I bounced around a lot as a young person. And so I think very early on, I was used to getting perspectives and different ways that people do things from everyone around me. And as I got older and started, working in this crazy car business, that continued for me. For me, it's not that I took one thing from one person and this, I grabbed onto one person. I took little things from everyone. If I saw value in it, then I gravitated toward it. And so there are some people that really stand out, head and shoulders above others. My very first general manager, Jim Redmond, he took a risk on me. I was a young person, I was a female, and he really helped get me to that next level by getting me into management and into finance. And against everyone who told him, no, she can't do it, she can't do it, she can't do it. And he fought against a lot of people to give me that opportunity because he saw something in me and kind of supported me. And also was the one who kind of told me how the cow eats the cabbage, but in ways that were good, that were really valuable. He was probably the most. My dad has always been a mentor to me, more from a do the right thing for other people. My dad gives a, shirt off his back kind of human. I asked my dad, what do you want? I don't need anything, and I'm like, okay, but like your shirts have holes in it. Yeah, they're fine. He's just that kind of human. So my dad taught me a lot about being a good human, but I hate to say this, but I've learned a lot from the people who were mean to me. I learned a lot from the people who honestly were not nice to me. So they weren't necessarily mentors, but they certainly taught me what I didn't want to do. And they taught me what I could handle, and they taught me how to fight through. I mean, we talk about, I think you guys said it on this show a week or two ago, that Wendy's a lover and April's a fighter. Well, my fighting now is the fact that I've got to where I am now. So my passion is making it not be so difficult for other people. I'll be the mama bear for everyone. I'll fight for anyone. If I see somebody treating somebody poorly, I'm the first one to jump on it. And my first real moment where I felt kind of paid back, I guess, in that space, and I'll try to get to this point as quick as I can, but I had a gentleman that I hired into internet, and back, this a few years ago, and this was when, you were supposed to go to retail first and sell retail, then you could get promoted for internet. And I just always have believed that I hire for effort and attitude. And I hired this young man who didn't live in a good part of town, but was a, traveling salesman. And this guy, I mean, when you sat there and talked to him, I just realized how hard he worked. To be a traveling salespeople, those people, that's like cojones to the extreme. And they got on me, the managers were on me about, why I did this, why I made this hire. He worked really, really hard and really pushed through. And that year, he ended up being salesman of the year at a high volume Toyota store. Just killed it. Everybody loves him. Everybody, he was nicknamed 3 months in Unicorn. Everybody just called him Unicorn. And then, months later, I'm praised for a good hire. We're both beaten up, treated like crap, kicked in the teeth every single day for why did we do this? Why did we do this? We're doing this wrong. And 3 months later, we're praised for it. 2 years later, and I had been gone from the store for a year, I get a Happy New Year text message from this young man that was probably 3 pages long in a text message. And it was just, thank you for changing my life. This is where I live now. This is what I'm able to provide my family now. I don't hear gunshots at night anymore. Just all of these things. And I'll tell you, there are times when I go, what the crap did we do this for? And I think about that text message and it tears me up every time, because we do get an opportunity to change people's lives. And I think it's an awesome thing. And so I love that we get to pay it forward.
So a mentor can also be a reverse mentor. It can be somebody that pushes you in a direction that makes you say, I'm going to be better than that, or I would never do that.
Bingo.
That's a wonderful story. Second, so you don't have to say cojones, you can say balls. We've got Fred on the show as Santa Claus. He can just say it's a Christmas ornament.
Well, I not last week because I couldn't make it last week, but the week before I went a little overboard, and I know the cuss jar was like full by April, so I'm trying to even that out and give you the balance.
That's
back.
all right. It all goes to charity. It all goes.
Yeah. Hey, listen, we've got the rare appearance of a guy that I love so much. I want to hug him and kiss him, and that's Jeff Polo. He's got to be
gone.
tied with. He's got to be tied. He's not on. He was on. Did he leave
Yeah,
already?
he's gone. He's
Well,
gone.
then you know what? He probably had to go back to the halfway house. If he's not
Yeah.
going to be here, I'm going to torture him.
So
I just thought
That's too funny.
we hit our Canadian limit.
Yeah.
no.
Hey, if we're going to talk about redemption and using negatives as a positive, we got to talk and let my boy Russell Hill jump in, because for anybody doesn't know, Russell grappled with addictions. He grappled with maybe being on the wrong side of the penal code. But the bottom line is, forget that he's successful. Who doesn't like the guy? Who doesn't care about him? So Russell, you're teed up, and and April has said it's okay to say balls, just so we're clear.
Yeah, April, thank you for sharing what you did, Paul and Luay. I had a horrible, I mean, I was born into an upper middle class family, but I quickly found the wrong side of the tracks. And I believe there's two kinds of people in the world, dream makers and dream takers. I was a taker. I took. As a result of that, I developed some really horrible addiction problems over the years. And I had an epiphany, just to keep it short. So I've been in 7 treatment programs, 2 halfway houses, and spent 6.5 years locked up in institutions and prisons because of my addiction. I shouldn't even be here right now. I learned some very valuable lessons, and I had an epiphany. You can call it a burning bush or a spiritual moment. And I grew up in the church and believed in God, never knew what it was to have a relationship with a higher power, whatever you want to call it. So I moved from Dallas to Sherman, and I got clean on December 1st, 1994. And I got right back in the car business. I've been in the car business, and I ended up being a GM of a Chrysler Plymouth Jeep store. And I met this guy. My life was really starting to turn itself around. All my life, people said, Russell, you can't do that. I tried that. That won't work. And unfortunately, I believed them, and I shouldn't have done that. So I met this guy, keep it short. He was a very prominent attorney, but there was something unique and different about him. He was a giver. He gave. He wasn't a taker. I was ready. And when they say the student's ready, the teacher will appear, etc., I was ready. So I got real bold, and I reached out and tapped him on the shoulder and said, Roger, could I take you to lunch and talk to you and find out, how you got where you're at, etc.? And he said, certainly. And so we went to lunch, we were talking, and he helped me uncover some of the dreams that were hidden way down in my heart, because I was so scarred from people saying, you can't do that. I tried that. That won't work, because of my education and my convictions and all that kind of stuff. And he said, absolutely, I'll work with you. And he said, I remember these words. He said, Russell, are you willing to do the things that other people are not willing to do, so you can have and become the things that most people will never have and never become? And I said, yes. He said, I'm going to get you way outside of your comfort zone. I'm going to ask you and make a lot of suggestions. And each time that we get together, we're going to do an inventory and accountability of the suggestions. And if you're not heeding those suggestions, then don't call me. I'm not going to work with you anymore. I don't have time for it. Okay. And one of the first things he did when I said yes is he gave me a book on how to win friends and influence people by Dale Carnegie. And he said, if you'll read 15 minutes a day, not 14 and a half, not 15, don't finish the paragraph. I didn't understand what was going on about the discipline, but 15 minutes and you stop. And he said, if you'll do that, I'll continue to work with you until we get back together next time and continue to move forward. But he said, I promise you, your life will transform within 1 year. It wasn't 1 year, it was 6 months. And it sent me on an insatiable quest for knowledge and information. And I learned that the whole secret of my life today, this is just my experience, that you can't keep it unless you give it away. It's much easier to remain humble and kind instead of to be humbled. And there's a big difference between the two. I'm very fortunate. I have an attitude of gratitude, and I understand to keep what I have, I got to continue to give it away. My passion is to serve. That's what I like to do. I like to serve. I'm continually growing and learning. I'll never be a 10. I want to remain humble and teachable. People that are 10s don't have anything to learn. So I look at everybody today, like all of you in these rooms I'm in, I learned something. I absorb. I love each and every one of you. I learned so much from all of you and the interactions that we have. And it's amazing. And it has elevated and just exploded what I'm doing. My business today is very, very successful, but it's been 23 years in the making through 2 other failed businesses that I started. And you learn a lot about stock options and contracts and partnerships and things of that nature. But that's okay. I love people where they're at, move on down the road. And I look at people like trees. Well, what do you mean trees? Well, if the branches are bare, au contraire, I don't go there. So they have to be bearing fruit or they're a waste of my time. And it doesn't mean I don't care for them. I love them right where they're at and move on down the road. They're not ready. I'm in rooms with all of you because I'm ready and you're ready. And that's why we all gravitate towards each other. And I have many mentors in my life today in many different areas. And I sponsor and mentor many people in recovery and with financial problems and marriage problems and things like that, only up to the degree of what I actually know. And that's where my passion is. And so thank you.
Hey, Russ, thank you so kindly. It looks like we got our boy Tim Hayden on. Tim, do you have a moment or two to tell us who mentored you and who you're in the process of mentoring? And thank you so much for showing up.
Well, thanks, Larry. And I've been out Christmas shopping, and I've Wendy just texted me while I was in the checkout line, so I'm joining you now. You know, I've started quite a few businesses, and many times it has been my business partner, a guy named Sanjay Lal. With the very first business I started in Austin, developing websites and director-based presentations for anybody who remembers Macromedia back in the day on CD-ROMs. That was way back in 1999. And I've got a few other partners that along the way have just been as inspirational as they have been mentors. And today, just to answer your question full circle, is, you know, I work with my team to think holistically. So I've got 2 or 3 people on my team that are on the front lines of strategy with our clients, and always understanding that the knee bone is connected to the neck bone when it comes to data, when it comes to customer experiences. Too many people think that things happen in a vacuum, or they happen just with what's in front of them. And to be customer centric and to really think about what needs to happen with systems integration, which is what we do, you know, you really have to see the whole big picture. So I like to think that what I'm doing is imparting upon my team the ability to really exercise their curiosity and always ask more questions. And the biggest question, you know, what else? What else can we integrate? Where else could there be information that's relevant to customer experiences, business operations, or overall market intelligence?
I'm starting to see a pattern here that the people that are mentoring and being mentored are open and curious. Have you noticed that, Tim? It's not guys or ladies with their chest puffed up when I know everything. It's teach me something. You know, show me something positive or negative.
Absolutely.
I like
Larry, I'd like to hear from Zach, because I look at Zach as a giant mentor to everybody, because his program is in the palms of everyone out there and giving them tutelage to their jobs.
That's all wonderful, but I never got the Venmo money from Zach to speak tonight.
Oh,
you know, it's bad enough I let Russell get away with it because of his massive surgery, but go ahead, Zach. You'll owe me
It's
one.
still the holiday season for some of us, Larry.
Yeah, that's right.
But Zach, don't try to get out of it. I got Tim Hayden, and this is one guy that knows how to count on a computer.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Zach.
Damn it. I think I owe you 3 already, Larry. And now you 1 more, Peter.
no worries.
No, I love this discussion. It's funny because my greatest mentor, while in the dealership and the automotive business, he's actually now an advisor for our company for accountability. And I think the biggest thing, I was taking some notes on a lot of the feedback, And again, I just appreciate the kind words, Peter. It's mentors. I think the biggest thing that so Chad Kirkhoff anyway was a COO for Tom Wood. He's probably my number one mentor by far. But I think that I think if the people, when you find out, right, when if you're hungry to really learn and you really, I think, are proactive in really sharing that, which is not hard. And I go back to Ed Lage, which was one of the biggest ones that really, I think, drove that for me and really framing out what to say and really how to put myself out there. But what I've learned is mentors, they understand that they get just as much from it as what they give during it. And now just being on this side of it, I think that's really probably the most powerful thing I would say is when you understand it from the position of experiencing it and feeling it, right? You understand that really there's like people that have been fortunate to make a certain amount of money and be able to, I think, really defy the odds or even really, I think, surprise themselves, which in some cases, I'm sure a lot of us have done that. You start to find the things that really, truly, it's easier to see, I think, and really easier to see that, like, if you, one of the mentors, Gary, he actually said, work hard, the money will come. But if you chase the money, you'll always be chasing. And so just all of these sayings and all of these things that we're sharing, I can go on and tell you Todd Nuttall is another mentor that it just really treat like challenging your people is, trust, believe in your people, but don't believe your people. It's not
Zach, you only get one mentor. You never got me the Venmo money.
Oh, shit.
To condense what he's trying to say, we're going to move away from the guy over Russell Hill's shoulder and in deference to Paul Robson, go to the Beatles bass player, who at the end of Abbey Road said, in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make. I'll come up with a Lennon quote later, Russ. I don't like you to feel left out after you had that massive surgery.
So,
all right, how about my girl, Martha?
Martha.
Oh, okay. Let me unmute over here. Oh, I closed my video. Hi, how are you, everybody?
Hello.
Good, Martha.
Wow, mentoring, I think that, can you guys hear me?
Yeah. I was going to say continue.
Yeah, okay.
And happy holidays and great to see you.
Happy holidays to all. I think, I was very lucky when I started in this business. The manager that hired me, I don't really know. I mean, like, she saw something, at that time. She probably saw the spark and the desire that of learning. I early speak, actually coming into the automotive business was my first job speaking English, because I have had many jobs here in this country, but they're all involved, they were all my own language in Spanish. And one day I was like, okay, well, I need to do something. I was doing really good, managing a big call center for Univision, which is, one of the major TV stations. But it was all in Spanish and I wasn't learning. So I was like, I need to do something else. What is going to happen when this job is not around? And I don't know the language, right? So I went and applied at a dealership, and the PDC manager saw me, and I don't even understand if she kind of like knew what I was saying, but she hired me. And I remember that the GM asked me, what is it that you want to do? It was like, in a year, I'm going to be one of your managers. And he was like, you were? It's like, yep, I will be one of your managers. And she took me under her wings. And I think that was very important to me, because she believed in me. And people didn't make it easy at the dealership when I started working over there. Other co-workers, other managers, they were like, make fun of me. I will go home and cry. I would be like, okay. And I didn't have anyone to practice English when I was home, because everybody speaks Spanish. So I will cry, but she will tell me, how much she knew that I have such a great future in this industry. And that was very important to me. And that has been basically my only mentor that I was able to come across in this industry, because like April was saying, I think I have come across more people that have set me up for failure, that have actually been interested on me on, overcoming and being a big achiever. But I didn't let them stop me or destroy me, because I will always remember what she will tell me. You have it in you have the passion, and there is just so much that you have to offer. So from there, whenever I hire a BDC rep or whenever I hire anyone from any position, I make a commitment to them. And I say, you know what? It's my job and my responsibility that this individual have a successful career. And I always tell my team every day, you know, when we have a little coaching meetings and everything, hey guys, like if a train runs me over, I want to make sure that any of you guys is able to take my job. I don't want anyone to be hired from the outside. It has to be one of you. And from there, I'll make sure that I teach them everything. I share everything. I want them to succeed.
You're going to have a
and not
second
have to be
larger
very
candy cane that you can take to school that isn't
Hot
colored.
mic,
because,
hot mic.
oops.
It's Joshua. Josh,
You modify
we'll
because
get to you in a
I,
second.
I
Just-
hear,
yeah. Hey, Martha, can I add one thing to
But
what
I'm
you're
not
saying?
spending twice as much money on tape that
Yes.
I'm never using.
It's important to remember that we should never leave the mentoring stage, because I
Right.
don't care how rich you are, how important you are. Occasionally, everybody needs somebody to put their hand on their shoulder and say, man, I got your back. Because I don't care who you are or what you are. There's times you feel like, you know, you're a little bit beat up. Hey, Joshua, we hear you on mic. Can you throw in quickly who was your mentor and who you've mentored?
See, can I walk it out so I can the entire, just give me a second here.
Sure.
Let's jump to Duran because he's always got something great to say.
Duran, we're trying to find out who mentored you and who you've mentored, my good and great friend.
Well, that was very nice thing of you guys to say. I don't always have the best things to say, but good to see everybody. I would say,
Hey, Duran, love the glasses.
thank you. Screen glass. What's up, man? How are you? Good to see
Duran, you just got style points from a guy wearing a leisure suit. I wouldn't be too excited by that last compliment.
Hey. I've gotten rid of those poly fabrics a long time ago.
That wasn't me. That was
I
Peter.
would.
He's taken up ventriloquism for the holidays. Go ahead, Duran. I'm sorry everybody's so rude. Go ahead, Mike.
No. So like my mentor, one of the, I'm not gonna say my favorite mentor. I would just say one of the best mentors I've ever had was Corey Mosley, you know, because a favorite mentor might be somebody that made it a little bit easier on me, but a great mentor is going to challenge you, right? And that's exactly what he did. But one thing that Corey taught me that I loved was he would say, don't focus so much on the return on your investment, focus on the return on energy. And he would say, like, you know, so when you're in business as a consultant or a trainer, don't focus so much on the dollars and the money that you make. Also look at the time that you have to invest, and then also the energy that you get back from the client. Like, is it a great experience? Is it a good relationship with this client? Because sometimes money doesn't make it right. Just because they're paying a lot of money, but the energy drains me at the end of the day, it's not a good client. You know, you've got to do yourself a favor and do the client a favor and find somebody else. And so how I mentor other people is the same way, you know, is asking them, what is the return on the energy that you're putting in here? And if it doesn't make sense, then we need to make a change. You know, if we're doing the same thing over and over again, at the end of the day, we're furious, we can't stand it, then we need to look at what is our return on energy and make the right pivot. So it's kind of like twofold. What my mentor has taught me is dramatically helped my life with relationships, experience, whatever. And then I just try to coach the whoever it is, whether it's the next gen or a leader, whoever, just make sure you pay attention on not just the return on time, but the return on energy.
Hey, Duran, I want to say something about Duran. I picked up on something you said that I don't hear too much of, which I'm changing my vocabulary to do the same thing. But you didn't say anything about spending time, because that means giving without getting back. You said investing your time. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Duran, healthy and happy holidays to your family, and please tell your daughter I asked about it.
I sure will. Maybe I'll see if I can get her on here to say hello. But happy
We would
holidays
love
to
that.
you all as
Hey,
well.
Joshua,
Apologize I wasn't here sooner. Thank you.
We would. It's a pleasure to see you, Joshua. Are you freed up? Because if not, we'll
Yes, sir.
jump to Mike. All right, let's hear it, my buddy. Who mentored you, and who have you mentored, my friend?
So I'll give you a couple examples. The three most important men in my life are my two grandfathers, teaching me patience, resilience, longevity, how to treat women, how to treat others.
Oh, he entered the matrix.
All right, he'll jump back in as soon as he's out of the matrix. Mr. Graff, my good friend, tell us who mentored you and who you've mentored, please.
Well, I was fortunate enough to work in the DeFeo organization and with the Steve Galper organization, both of which taught you to value the people you work for and with and those that are under you, so that you bring them along at the same time that you're you're growing. You teach them how to grow. And when they fail at a task, you don't beat them up about it, but where you show them where they were doing well until they hit the roadblock and did the wrong thing, or they TO'd the customer in the wrong way, and the customer didn't react properly. They didn't come back with a better way to overcome that objection. Or in a training situation, that there are various ways to train someone to learn. As we learn as adults, I'm a visual learner, and in the beginning, in the 70s when I came into the car business, it wasn't so much visual. It was mostly in binders and books. It wasn't so much video. So now when I do training myself, I make sure there's a big mix of different media to keep people interested. And I also keep it to bite size, 15, 20 minutes at a time. And so those long hour and a half shots. The only person I know that can go longer than is our friend Larry Feldman. As far as people I've mentored, I have people that I must have 5 or 6 people that are general managers now. I have 1 or 2 that are vice presidents at larger dealer groups. Of my friend Flavia Panero is an executive with Reynolds and Reynolds and got me invited to speak at the Reynolds event in Indianapolis in September in front of 100 dealers. Give me a great platform. It was just incredible to have someone call you after 3 or 4 years of not seeing you or speaking to you and promote you in that way. It was very gratifying. I look for ways to promote him and recognize the Reynolds people for recognizing me. That's the way I try to give back to anyone that does something good for me. Like Larry and I have become fast friends, and Duran and I also share mentors. And it's a funny story because I hired Corey Mosley 22 years ago in a prestige organization. I saw how talented he was then. I tried to get him to be my assistant e-commerce director at a Toyota store. My boss wouldn't let me have him, send him across the street to the Lexus store, where they beat the shit out of the rest of the competition. And he mentored other people. And we stayed friends through the years. When I became e-commerce director at Flemington Car and Truck Country, we had 14 dealers. We did 4,000 cars on the internet. The 3rd year there, I talked my boss into having both Corey Mosley and David Kane as mentors. I had David Kane help me interact with my bosses because they're very high powered and they had high expectations, and I need to meet those expectations. Then with Corey, he helped me interact with my staffs because I had 24, 25 people to manage from various backgrounds. I had not been in that situation since I was a general manager at a Chrysler dealer when I was 20 years younger. So,
hey, Don, excuse me. It looks like Joshua's out of the matrix. I wanted him to finish his thought. Joshua, are you good now?
I didn't crash. It was just a complete phone failure from 50%. Wonderful news. So I'll do it quick because I know we're near the end of the show, and I want to get my 2 cents in, and I wanted to hear some. Russell, you're gonna have to give me some updates on this because I missed half of here. 3 people: grandparents, my grandfathers, most important men in my life up until probably the age of 20. I think I don't know how much you guys heard, but patience was probably the biggest one. Learning to follow through, amongst many. Second, later on in life, is my first shop foreman, my first Chrysler store. He made me somewhat professional, reduced the gigantic amount of arrogance because, believe it or not, I'm not nearly as arrogant now as I used to be. He taught me what automotive was, what it's like to work in the shop, what it's like to work real hard. Though my grandfathers taught me that as well, but he taught me how to do it in a workplace setting. I worked for 4 years in a grocery store before, but it's a completely different animal working in automotive in that way. So that and moving on, who have I mentored? I think over the last almost going on 2 years now, I've had almost 150 techs that I've coached through
I'd say a handful of them I would, if they wanted to be known who they were, there's a handful of them that have really taken it in stride, really learned and really grown with it. But I think from a public standpoint, I think one of my boys on 10 mil, Stefan DeSantos, we've gotten quite close. And whilst we're not that different in age, there's a lot of things that having the benefit of being in a lot of different stores over the last 20 years has given me perspective that he hasn't had by being in the same store for like the last 10 to 15 years. So I think when it comes to mentorship, one of the biggest things that doesn't get valued enough is perspective. Whether you actually know more or not, or gauge the volume or the depth of your knowledge in a single area, isn't necessarily the value point or value proposition. It's the perspective of being able to look at something from 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, 20 different points of view, so that it's not just coming to the one conclusion on whatever situation that the person you're mentoring it wants to go, or the person that you're looking for mentorship. It's being able to get that different perspective so you can be open-minded. And it's not just talking about being open-minded, it's actually learning how to be open-minded by getting those different perspectives.
And I'll give you a quick recap of what you missed. Russell was thoughtful, Paul Robson was analytical, I was mentally unstable, and Peter is from Canada. Basically the show. I mean,
Josh is
all
from
right,
Canada too.
we want to hear from everybody. We still have our buddy William from Brazil. We've got one of my best buddies, Mike Larkin. Pete, we can jump to who you want, but I figured this close to Christmas we'd wind up with Wendy and Fred, because if they're not the embodiment of Christmas, I don't know who the heck is.
Okay.
William, would you like to tell us who mentored you in South America and who put you to be the gentleman you are today? And then we can jump to Mr. Larkin.
Hello, everyone. And first, I would like to thank all the mentors in this room. The first. And I had a great mentor in my professional journey. He worked for many years in the Fiat. And I had the opportunity to work with him at the Ford dealerships when I was 16 years old. He taught me principles that I carry through in my life. With this, my mission has always been to share content and provide the best possible environment for growth. Of course, my philosophy is a bit different for his, but haven't taught me how to build and convey that. And as always, I like to highlight some points in our conversations. And with that, I leave 3 pillars about this mentoring path: gratitude, trust, and transformation. This is my 3 points for this conversation today.
Thank you. And healthy holidays to you and your family. Mr. Larkin, you're one of the most upbeat people I've ever met. So tell me, who mentored you and who are you mentoring currently?
Larry, how is your good behavior?
Hey, wait, April's jumping off. April, stay healthy. Have a fabulous Christmas.
Thank you, April.
April, happy Christmas.
Merry Christmas, all my favorite people. I just appreciate you all, and I just want you to know that I feel like you all mentor me every week. So
hey, wait a minute, April. April, forget about Fred. I have the world's best Santa impression. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Oh, ho, ho, ho. Tell the truth. You almost can feel me coming down the chimney, right?
April, he's too much, isn't he, April?
Too much.
Merry Christmas.
Take care,
Merry
April.
Christmas,
Merry
everyone.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas,
Stay
guys.
healthy, Mr. Larkin. Go ahead, sir.
Hey, 3, maybe 4. My dad, who taught me no regrets. We lost him at 58 years old. He was a fireman. Of course, he was my hero. My mother, she's from Ireland. She made it on her own. Communication was her thing. So they both brought me up with that. My Coach Frank Robinson, he always told the team, how good do you want to be? That was the message. Like Bill Belichick, do your job. Well, he goes, how good do you want to be? And we went to the state championship that year. Woo-hoo. But those life lessons, professionally, my current mentors, he instructed me that you don't want to sell tools. Okay. You want to sell packages. And he brought up the name fractional CMO. Mike, you're a fractional CMO. I'm like, what's that? So I looked it up. A fractional CMO is all the responsibilities of a CMO, but just doing it part-time or remotely to build a business for what they don't have. So my thing is working with the staffs that I'm working with that are in charge of their marketing. So what I have, they don't have. So I mentor them on what I do have, but not only with the tools, but the strategies behind the tools. So that's my mentoring and mentorship, and I'm sticking to it.
Mike, the healthiest of holidays to you, my buddy. If there's a more upbeat guy, I don't know who the heck it is. We now turn to our very own replica of Kris Kringle and Mrs. Kringle, Wendy and Fred. Man, we've been waiting all day for you. Take it home. Let's hear who you're mentoring.
Bring it. Go ahead, Fred. You're muted.
And I hope this shit doesn't happen on Christmas Day, Wendy. He's got to be like ready to rock here. Go ahead.
No, anyways, I'm no car salesman. I'm just helping Wendy, and what I've learned from her, I mean, she's great. She's unreal. I mean, I would sit there at the top of the stairs looking down at her at the table, just having 2 and 3 screens up there and talking to all these people, and she's amazing. She's incredible and gracious. Oh my God. I mean, when she gets off the phone, he goes, "Why'd you do that? Why did you give it away and not, make money off it or whatever?" She said, "It'll come back." She said, she helps people. And so she's cool.
Wendy, you just had Santa Claus pronounce you cool. What do you have to say for yourself, young lady?
So that was completely unexpected. And anyway, but okay, so I want to say I'm touched by everybody's perspective today. And so many people, it's the end of the show.
No, Wendy, we're going over time. You got all the time in the world.
But this is important. So to me, so first of all, it's my dad. My dad was a race car driver, got busted up. He was a bad boy growing up, grew up in homes because his dad was a drunk and his mom left him at 2. And he, bootstrapped it. And he was a race car driver, got busted up with 3 kids and went into car sales and killed it, got into management, didn't like it, made more money selling. Then he became one of the first buy here, pay here's in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And then he ended up wholesaling and started, when he got into vehicle acquisition and stuff. So anyway, he always, all the way, all through my life, he always sung my praises. He was my king professionally and personally. And when, even all the way to when my mom had a stroke in 2011, and that's part of the reason I came to Arizona, because none of my family would help. And I moved in to help her save her house. And my dad kept saying, why don't you just car sales guy attitude, right? Why don't you tell them all to go F themselves and walk away? So that was my dad's thing to me, to just stay true to you, but you got to stand up for yourself, which I didn't. Well, then to April's point, I guess I'm kind of a champion for the underdog, and both of my kids are like that. And listening to April, those that I've mentored, I think my greatest joy is from the couple of BDMs that no one would let me talk them into hiring as the BDM. And they're both in place at 3 huge stores, one in the DMV area, East Coast, one in the Chicago area, 15 years later. And, one wasn't pretty enough. Hey, I can't use her in sales. She's not that good to look at. Maybe you can use her in the BDC. And now she's killing it. And the one in the DMV area, she's got an attitude. Don't hire her. 14 years later, she's crushing it. But as far as everything, my mentors, to me, it's all about, and then I had this guy named Shane Wood reach out to me in LinkedIn message inbox today. He apparently heard me say, quote, Wayne Dyer Friday on all things used cars, and then it came up as my contribution to Glenn's planner, Glenn Lundy's planner today, I guess during Rise and Grind. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And for me, it's all about embodying, embracing, and most of it post-COVID, because I was stubborn. I should have been a DA. I'm like, my way or the highway, right? That's why I was known as being abrasive. But in my growing ability to be able to embody and embrace other perspectives, it gives me a better understanding moving forward. I don't like to look back. I tell Fred all the time, stop it with the historical. We're not going that way. Like, you got to think of what can be. Hashtag the human side of AI, another thing. So I have a lot of mentors, and each and every one of you in this room has taught me something. And I can totally, Russell, you'd be surprised. You guys would be surprised if my story ever comes out. Hold on, it's gonna be a bumpy ride.
Hold on,
But
let
anyway,
me say something. Only
And that's about it.
Only recently, Wendy, did I start opening up and being vulnerable enough to share just little tidbits, because I want you inspire, everybody in here inspires and motivates me to continue to keep going. And people need to hear what you have to say, because that's going to inspire somebody else, you know, to
Yep.
go to the next level. And that's the only reason I started doing it. And I want to hear your story sometime.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. And I will. But like that guy Shane was just, it was just so cool hearing that it touched one person. He's like, I wrote this down on Friday, and then this came up. He goes, and I think it was you. Good job. And I'm just that the idea that what we do or what we say or what we're passionate about touches one person. Those are our mentees, in my opinion. And we're blessed to have one another, I think.
Hey, I have I can't possibly imagine anybody working with somebody who cares as much or works as hard as Rhonda. Man, you talk about a blessing. Having her fall in with me, nobody's better. Rhonda, who mentored you, and who, man, I'm among your travels, you had to mentor plenty of people, because
Gotcha. Yeah.
she's just always on the
Rhonda,
money.
I hate to miss this, but I'm already 3 minutes late to another
Hey,
thing,
Russell, it's
but-
on tape.
Okay, listen.
Have a
love
Merry
y'all.
Christmas. Yeah.
Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Merry Christmas, holidays, whatever is appropriate. We'll see y'all later.
Take
Thank
care,
you.
Russell.
All right,
Be
bye-bye.
well. Be
Thank you.
well.
Merry Christmas.
Okay, so here's the
Ho,
thing.
ho,
I
ho.
walked away. Ho ho ho! I walked out of. I got my degree, my undergraduate degree, and thought I had a job, and I didn't, because it was the recession. I was the last man in on in a printing company, and the art director said, "You're the last man in, so you're out." But he directed me somewhere where he said, "I know these people. This is an agency," which is really where I wanted to be, not in a printing company, an ad agency who needs a production artist. So I literally walked across town, got the interview, and the next day I started work at a very small but very successful ad agency, working for a guy who was legendary as one of the worst bosses you could possibly work for ever. But that was the president. The vice president and the art director took me under their wing, both of them. And those were the days when women weren't supposed to succeed. Women were supposed to get married and go away. But these guys were so supportive. And even though I know that every day I learned something from them, it was that overall support that we stayed friends till the end of their lives. You know, they were incredible people. The art director, if I ever did something good, he would turn around and say to whoever was listening, "I taught her everything she knows," which was, you know, high praise from him. And you know, so we worked together in one capacity or another over the years. And finally, I opened up my own place, and never really made a big deal, but I would always hire these young people, mostly women, but sometimes men, to be production artists. And they would either have a degree or not, but they would learn a lot from me and not last very long, you know, 6 months, a year, 2 years, and then they'd get a better job. And I learned how not to take that personally because I couldn't pay them what they wanted. But I was happy to be the incubator for their talent, and a lot of them did quite well. The biggest mentor job has been my daughter, who we started working together in 2015. She's very talented. She always was. She's a good content creator. But the reason I started the business and the reason I call myself her mentor is she needed to learn about business. And I think that's what I taught her, how to give good customer service, because she would grumble about the clients wanting to change things or, do things that she didn't want. And I said, you know what? Grumble in private. This is not what you're supposed to be doing with clients. You're supposed to give the client what they want. And sometimes you give the client what they want, even if it's wrong, but you tell them it's wrong. And I have to say, she's come a long way in business, and I only wish I was as good a mom mentor as I was a business mentor to her. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
That's awesome. Have we missed anybody?
I just want to just jump back for 1 second here and come a little bit of a backstory that it's so important that we look back to who's actually changed our lives and who's changing our lives. And there's so many people in the last year and people. I've been in this business for 40 years. And then last year, I've seen more people change my life than ever in my 40 years in the business. I can't say how much Larry has changed my life for me. He's been there more than anybody in this whole realm of business for me, and he does so much unselfishly for people that people really don't understand or know, and it's a real honor to call him a friend and a colleague and a partner. So I just want to shoot that out before Larry tries to end the show without getting told who and what he means to a lot of us.
Here,
well,
here.
Thank you, Peter. That was a very nice thing to say. My mentor, I'm going to borrow from Mike Larkin. I'm going to say my mother and my father. My father was a little crazy and as close to fearless as you can be. And I believe I've inherited those traits. And as Rhonda will tell you, I love to plunge into things where I have no idea what's going to happen and just take the risk. And my mom, there just couldn't have been a nicer person. When people had problems, other kids in the neighborhood, she took everybody in, anything she could do for anybody. So when you have people around you that you care about, it's easy to be mentored. And I lost my father when I was 16. So I not only got the benefit of a little bit of his craziness and his fearlessness and his sense of hard work, but what loss is. Because I think one of the greatest things that we can be mentored by is to understand that we're here for a short visit. And if we can make every day important and give it our best every day, not only will we be fulfilled, but we'll fulfill other people, because then we can be a great mentor. So it was so nice to hear kind words from Peter and from everybody and sharing it. I feel like everybody on the show, it's such a pleasure to tune in, to the warmth of this show and the friends. And it's so nice to see everybody. We appreciate you so much. We're looking forward to having more fun and more in-depth conversation. And I as always, I just want to say thank you. I want to say healthy holidays, whatever your holiday you're celebrating, great New Year. And Fred, we better do it one more time. We'll do it like a harmony. You take the low one, I'll take the high one.
Larry, just before we hold this off, Kelly just jumped on, so let's
hear Kel. Go ahead, jump in, Kelly.
Give her
Let's hear
2
who
seconds.
mentored you and who you mentor.
I'm sorry. I got the very tail end of that.
We want to know who you mentored and who has mentored you. Who has made you the wonderful person you are.
Oh, Lordy.
By the way, before you go any further, we did have the holiday cash giveaway. And since Zach said you weren't here, he took your money. So I'm sorry.
That is okay. I had a client call and after a launch, and it was a wonderful call. So that's a holiday spirit enough for me. People that I have mentored, I have a number of volunteers out at a nonprofit that I run, and I've created some little social mavens for running some of the social media that we do. And I also have, very early on in my career, I took on one of my BDC employees, trained her up, and actually had her go ahead and replace me when I moved into finance. And then she went on to run a department at another store. And then she has moved on to even bigger and better things. So it was really nice to watch her attain her goals in life. And people that have mentored me, I don't think we have enough time in the day to get to that list. But I would say that I've had a lot of help from Bill Playford, and in the very early years. And rest in peace with Rick McCoy. He was such a fabulous person. And of course, my father, who is just an always get down to the measure 3 times so that when you cut once, it's always perfect, and keep smiling because you're alive today and who knows what tomorrow brings. So
Kelly, my father
just a few people.
My father always said, everybody in the graveyard will get up and take every one of your problems. So I respect your father's philosophy. Again, everybody, the healthiest of holidays. We cannot tell you how much we appreciate you tuning in, and stay healthy. And we'll look forward to seeing you next week. We will be back on Wednesday. And gosh, we hope we see some or all of you.
Okay.
Happy
Good
holidays,
everybody.
guys.
Thank you very much for coming. Always
Thank
a
you,
pleasure.
everyone. Take care.